Hello and welcome to this video on the Garden of Soul, a digital garden for Rob Boubea's teachings. We are looking at the entrance door to the garden, the entry page of the website. And in this video, I'm going to give you an introduction into what's in the garden and what we can do with it. I'm going to touch here and there, not really going into that much detail, just give you a sense of what is the garden about. What's in the garden? Well, it's a collection of Rob's talks. The audio recordings, the audio files from Dharma Seed, and their transcriptions, the transcript PDFs from the Airtable combined in the website, combined on the page. And this gives us the ability, having it in a web presence, having the information in a web presence gives us the ability to link, to cross-reference, have an index, put talks side by side and compare, browse, search, find. It's an additional lens, it's an additional handle to draw you closer to the breadth and depth of the teachings. Looking at the entrance page, just on the top of it, there is, and we just use this as a first point of departure into the garden. It's a daily quote. This quote today pulled from the talk Preliminaries Regarding Voice, Movement and Gesture, Part 1. So you see maybe, hopefully, that this has a slightly different color. It's like bluish, like those ones here as well. And those are links, so you can click on it and the garden takes you to that particular position, some other page in the garden. We won't click on it though now, but rather hover with the mouse on the link. So just moving the mouse on top of the link without clicking. And the garden now shows us a preview of where it would take us if we clicked the link. The quote, the immediate context of the quote is a paragraph, is some paragraph in the transcript where the quote is from. And for this quote, it's the first paragraph on the 17th page of the PDF. The paragraph is about the kinesthetic sense of energy filling the whole space. And Rob touches upon different concepts, awareness a couple of times, energy, body, energy, and embodiment. Let's listen to it.
So what is it? We're not just talking about the space of awareness. We're not just talking about expanding the space of awareness. Okay, that's a different practice. We're talking about an energy body sense. Expanding, moving and feeling, sensing and imagining the not just the space of the energy body in its usual size, but also the extended sense of the energy in the room and how that's connected with and impacted by and filled by the energy of your body movements.
So we took the daily quote and used it to look at the text, the transcript, see a description of the paragraph in like a small sentence, see the fingerprint of the keywords of the topics he touched upon, and listen to his voice. Let's go to the transcript and look at the paragraph in the context of the other paragraphs. So now we are looking at the same information, the same text, down to the way it's formatted, what we have from the PDF. It is relatively distraction free, right? But there are still, you might be able to pick out words having different colors, and it's awareness, energy body, energy body, energy, and body or embodiment. And those were the 4 keywords, the 4 index entries we were shown as kind of the fingerprint of this particular paragraph, right? So those are also clickable and hoverable, as you've just, if you've just seen that showing up for a moment. But let's click on awareness and look at the talks. Now, not from the side of the talks, what kind of topics they touch on, but looking from the topic awareness, from the keyword, from the index entry awareness, and looking at the whole breadth of all the talks in the garden. And this is what this first table actually shows us. Where does awareness occur and how often? We can also narrow down the focus and ask the same question for the paragraph. What are the paragraphs across all the paragraphs of all the talks, across all retreats, where awareness as keyword occurs most often? And you see, the first one, the one with the most occurrences, is actually the one where the quote, the daily quote, comes from. The kinesthetic sense of energy fills the whole space paragraph. But I can also, if I want to, now take a look at a different paragraph and see this paragraph again, read it or listen to what Rob says in the audio transcript, in the audio recording, sorry. Another way to understand the keyword awareness is what kind of role does it play in co-occurring with other keywords. We know that in that particular paragraph, awareness co-occurred with energy body, with energy, and with embodiment. So how often actually does awareness occur with embodiment? And it is actually 56 times across all the talks, and this makes it the term embodiment which co-occurs the most often with awareness. Having those co-occurrences, we can also see this expressed in a kind of a cloud where you have different keywords co-occurring with each other. This is kind of a view into the vast semantic network, which is the foundation of the talks, and which is the foundation of the paths those talks take. It is just a hint, right? Those tables and those charts, those are just hints, not the real thing, if you will. It's still indispensable to actually, listen to the talk and read the transcript. But sometimes it's good to have hints, pointers to potentially also interesting paths through the body of teaching, and an interesting way to further the meditative exploration of the material. And if all that tables and counts and so on are not really something you want to work with because you find it's a bit too technical, there's also for each of the keywords a list of quotes where the keyword occurs in the different retreats, and as always you can just go there, listen to the particular quote in the context of a paragraph, and work in this way in addition to what you do with the transcript itself. To go a bit down here on that page, there is an index which kind of collects all those keywords here, for example, awareness, but you'll also find a lot of keywords from Buddha Dharma, both Theravada and Mahayana, the extensions towards emptiness teachings, and of course also soul-making Dharma, imaginal practice, but also philosophy, psychology, sociology, and a lot of names. So that's a way to see the topics on one page and get some inspiration from that. Of course, the most important part will certainly be the retreats themselves, not just the different ways, the different lenses, but the material itself. I've just started, so there's only a couple of retreats in there. This project is a very young one, but therefore, and this is a heartfelt invitation, I would be elated and glad and happy if you had a retreat or a series of talks, or even a talk, one talk itself, one talk on its own, where you want to put on those lenses and look at this talk or at the series of talks in the context of all the other talks, and use this for your own exploration. I'm also interested in really conceptually understanding the talks, really working with the material Rob passed on to us. So as an example, two Dharma friends, they are currently working on compiling a book on loving kindness and compassion, and they're using the transcripts as the basis for that. The tricky thing, though, is that there are sometimes, let me just reduce the zoom level to put the pages next to each other. There are talks in the 2007 Loving Kindness and Compassion as Path to Awakening retreat, which cover basically the same ground like the 2008 ones, but not exactly the same. There is of course, new material in the 2008. Also, some concepts are picked up and expanded upon, but there is also a lot of material in the 2007, which, due to one reason or the other, did not make it into the 2008 talks. Still, even though those talks cover, many of those talks, the pairs of talks, cover the same ground, and even though the talks are meticulously planned, Rob meticulously planned the arc of those talks, there's still some overlap, but not scripted. So things you find in 2007 will give additional color to that what you find in 2008. So those two Dharma friends, those editors, and so we thought it would be a neat idea to have the pairs of the talks, the same talk, if you will, for 2007. Just an example of one of the talk pairs, Samadhi and Metta Practice, in the place of Samadhi and Metta Practice in 2008, next to each other, where basically the information which is in the 2007 and in the 2008 paragraphs next to each other. So you have parts which are not contained in 2007 in the 2008, but you also have tangents, additional materials in 2007 which are not in 2008. So you can, of course, you should listen to both talks and read both talks, but at a later point in time, you and the editors, they can use this as an additional hint, inspiration on how to actually merge those two talks, merge the talks to a cohesive book. I'm also really interested to learn about your notes, your practice guides, or just information you distill from the talks. Let's take a look at Vajra music, where I'm fortunate to have a selection of Vajra music exercises compiled by Patrick. So what we did is we took his compilation of exercises across the 5 talks of that series. The retreat, the series of talks is really exercise Latin. Yeah, so he went into all the parts, distilled all the exercises, gave them just a quick description, so that you can use this practice guide as a means to recollect what's in the talk when you are doing the meditative exploration, you doing the exercises. But you can also, if you need further clarification or want to see this exercise in the context of what Rob is talking about, you can also see it or listen to it in Rob's voice when he explains the exercise, how to do it and why you should do it. Lastly, I'd like to point you to the help page. The help page has a couple of videos on it, an introduction, and also videos going a little bit more in detail into the ways you can navigate and work with the digital garden in different aspects. And this basically concludes the video. Thank you and much metta to you.